A good word here with Jason Goff. Jason, I tried to delay the inevitable for as long as I could. Oh, the Bulls. That's what they did. They delayed the inevitable for as long as they could, right? They were trying to figure out what to do with DeMar DeRozan. Do we want him to come back? Is he going to be a piece that holds this thing together while we just keep on middling and middling? And then they traded Alex Caruso and they get any draft picks for him. They just got Josh Giddey and everything that comes with the Josh Giddey experience. And now, Jason, you have Zach LaVine. I said it on your podcast and I was on it last week. I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
He's become viewed more as a contract than a basketball player. And I think that doesn't serve the Bulls well. I don't think that serves Zach well. But the team that gets him, it's going to serve them well because I think he's going to ball out for them. If he's your third best player, Jason, you got something cooking because you're asking him to score and defend his man. Easy work.
Yeah. Asking Zach to be that guy, I think, you know, it's akin to me, and this is a dude who I love watching play from his UConn days to his Milwaukee days to his Seattle days. But there was a moment in Ray Allen's career where it's like, all right, you're just going to be the catch and shoot dude. You're going to be the dude who plays decent defense. You're going to be the guy who's a connector, who understands and is aware basketball IQ wise. Now, that's the argument. Is Zach LaVine is his IQ, is his propensity sometimes for turnovers late in games or some head scratching decisions. It is trumped by his shot making ability. It is trumped by his athletic explosiveness, even at this point in his career after a couple of knee surgeries. Like, you know, the dude, he comes off as West Coast cool, right? But the cat is as hard a worker as anybody you'll find. Yeah. No, Zach gets after it, right? So all the things that he does, I think, are preparing him for the moment where when he does get a chance to shine on another team, it's going to be like, oh, yeah. The rest of the country's going to be like, man, remember Zach LaVine, how cold he was? Whereas we're sitting here in Chicago watching like, why can't this translate to wins? Like, why can't this translate to making teammates better on the court? Like, off the court, giving guys a good word, no pun intended, is all good. But on the court, like, I had somebody last year say to me from, you know, that was inside the organization, like, you know, sometimes they're just better without him. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, and this person was upfront with it. Like, sometimes on the court, these young dudes just are better without him. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing plays out, because everyone's trying to be professional, but everyone understands that the marriage is over.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time to, you know, cut the TV in half and get the dog days that you want, and you know what I mean? Get the moving truck back in. Zach's gonna be very beneficial for somebody. But
right.
this offseason, you know, this has been the Bulls fans, I won't say worst nightmare, but this has been a tough dream for the Bulls fans because there's so many young players that you can look forward to, but there's still questions there as well. So you're just hoping to have something to watch, but also to have an executable plan. And I think that once DeMar is gone, Vooch has kind of turned into one of those guys that maybe you can't move.
Right.
And Zach is a guy who people are kicking the tires on but want to see healthy and also want to see how he affects winning and how professional you can be coming out to begin the season. So it's a tough spot for all parties involved right now.
Do you think, Jason, that the Bulls have to trade Zach before the season starts? Because right now the asking price essentially is multiple first-round picks. And you're saying the Bulls have to attach multiple first-round picks when first-round picks ain't really getting moved like that because of, A, how valuable they're going to be in this new TV world where when you saw that $76 billion contract that the NBA has agreed to with Amazon and NBC and everybody in ESPN and everybody else, half of that's going flush into a salary cap, which means we're going to have another explosion or at least some level of incremental growth with the cap. That means that the cheap labor of rookie scale contracts are more and more valuable, and teams are not going to want to give that up because you're going to have to pay guys $60, $70 million without blinking an eye. Do you think the Bulls can afford to bring Zach LaVine into training camp, into the regular season, and so on and so on? Or do they just have to take the loss?
you know, depends on which group we're talking about. Are we talking about Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley, who, when they were introduced, said that we are about drafting and development, or the group that on March 16th, 2021 said, you know what, Nikola Vucevic for essentially Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Jet Howard sounds like a good deal. Like, these people who are in charge have said we have to change this continuity thing didn't work essentially, and now the mission statement is to get this thing back on track. If those guys that showed up at that exit press conference and are saying those things are still of that mind, then you take the loss, right? Mm-hmm. There's a zero-sum fallacy that happens all the time where it's like, a sunk cost fallacy that happens all the time where it's like, oh, well, you got to keep getting something for them. Nah, you don't. Because at some point, you got to turn this thing over to whoever's going to be the next iteration of the championship Chicago Bulls. And this city, for all the bluster and the toughness of the media, it's also a very, very forgiving city. Very forgiving.
Yes.
Very forgiving.
Yes.
Right? And all you got to do is tell us the plan so we know how to talk about firing you. Right? That's all. And once you tell us the plan, let's rock. That's right. You know me rebuilds. I sat through the Baby Bulls with Tyson and Eddie.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
We went through Jamal Crawford being drafted and being like, all right, where is he gonna play? Kirk Heinrich got drafted because Dwayne Wade was picked a pick ahead of him, right?
Would y'all have taken Dwayne Wade?
I think they were getting ready. I think Dwayne thought he was getting taken by the Chicago Bulls. I think he did. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Pat Riley looking at Eddie Jones and everybody like, this kid from Marquette with the huge hands and the big feet, who's only 6'4", might be a generational player. And he was right. Right? Jay Williams, that situation, unfortunate, right? Yeah. Like, there's been so many things that Bulls fans, like myself and other Bulls fans who sat through, like 1998 is our 1985 for Bears fans here in this city. 98's a long time. That's when I graduated high school. My kid's about to be 8, right? Like this has been happening for a long time. So as long as if Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley, I think, were to come out tomorrow and be like, we had to attach these draft picks, they would get flamed. Mm-hmm. they would be in trouble. But it's kind of like the Alex Caruso deal. When Alex Caruso went to Oklahoma City, like, what? You ain't get no picks? Hey, man, Sam Presti is the man with the strongest hand at the table. You ain't got no leverage. And, you can get mad or be mad at the leverage that you gave up a year and a half ago at the trade deadline. But being mad at the leverage now, it's like, what are we talking about? Just because you draw a doorknob on the cardboard box don't mean you got a house, right? Like, you don't have a house. So I'm okay with you not having that leverage and being mad about it. If you don't have the leverage that you'd have to attach draft picks, then if you got job security, you can look at a fan base in the face and say, hey, man, MB of Chicago, Modest Buzelis and these boys about to run around and we're going to win 21 games and make sure that top 10 protected pick doesn't go to the San Antonio Spurs in a draft where Cooper Flagg and a bunch of people are coming out. Like, you might have to take the short. You might have to take the loss so that 2-3 years from now we could talk about this team like we're talking about the Houston Rockets right now. And I think that's what a lot of the Bulls fans are hoping happens.
Look, man,